We're live now. We're live now. Good evening, folks. Thanks for coming in. We hope you're all doing okay on this Wednesday. I think it's Wednesday. I got my nights mixed up the other night. I think I was saying it was Tuesday and it was really Monday, but you kind of lose track of time sometimes, don't you? But thanks for coming in, folks, and you're all very welcome. And tonight we have John from Nighthawk Paranormal UK. I've already spoke to John a couple of weeks ago. But this is the first time we're going to have a good chin wag with him. So thanks for coming in, buddy.
No worries, mate. Thank you for having us.
It's good to see you again. You're very welcome. How are we? First and foremost.
Tired, mate. It's been a long few days. I've got to be honest. I've only just come back from 30 East Drive on, 24 hours ago? So, yeah, it's been a long one.
You get the hangover?
Yeah, I have got the paranormal hangover, if I'm honest. Yeah, it's horrible, mate.
It's weird that because I've spoken to people who don't believe it exists. But when we've been out in investigations, most of your team the next day, you've no energy at all, and you wake up, and I think it's just my theory. It's because you don't realise it, but spirits on the investigation, spirits feeding off your energy, so you're actually getting drained without realising it.
Yeah, all the time. Constantly, and you don't realise what type of spirits you are dealing with once you're on location. For us at 30 East Drive, we were dealing with children. We don't know exactly how many, but obviously there was 10 of us in the room, but a lot of us were drained. It's when we got to 5:30 in the morning and we started at 6. It was too much. We had to call it. 2 of them fell asleep. I mean, we were supposed to be there till 10:30, but we just called it. It was just too much. The activity died off at that point as well at 5:30. Once I showed the picture that's on our page, and I just didn't see the point anymore. The responses and the questions. Sorry, mate. Go on.
No, sorry. No, I was going to say if everybody's there and they're all drained and falling asleep, it's better because the concentration's just gone.
Yeah, it is. Totally, it was.
And you start. I'm not going to say you start hallucinating, but you start thinking you're hearing things and stuff.
When you overthink.
It's just tiredness. It's a location I'd like to do. We get a chance to do it last year. A team GSI, they phoned us on the Monday and said, "Look, we've got they're on Paraflix, so they were doing a thing for the Paraflix episode. They says we've got 30 East Drive on Wednesday night for free. Come down." But it was, it's like obviously school week, babysitters, work. And I says, listen, I would love to come down. I really would, but it's just not feasible at this short notice. If maybe he said, I only learned about it today. I said, no, I understand that. I said, but maybe a week's notice we could have worked something out, but 2 days notice, and we're kind of gutted, because I've seen a lot on East Drive, and to be honest with you, John, I'm going to grill you about your investigation, but I've seen this on a few lives. I'm still 50-50 on it.
I am as well, if I'm honest. Simple reason is, and I think a lot of people will agree with me here, what was once there, I don't think is there anymore. When you've got 70 people a week going into a location for however many years it's been open for, you're going to be looking at people's attachments. I personally think the house is more about what's being brought in now rather than what the house was once. We did get responses from who we call Fred, who's the Black Monk. We asked questions on dowsing rods. They were very accurate. We had questions from, I forget her name, Jean Pritchard. We managed to get responses from her. We had responses upstairs in all the bedrooms. But I still think, personally, from my point of view, and I say this said this to my team and the customers we had because it was a public event, and they even agreed with me, it's not what used to be in the house. It's now what is or has been brought through the years. And anything is possible in that house. I mean, I had 4 mediums come on during the actual first walk round on my first live that I did, which was the walk round. And I was upstairs in the young girl's bedroom, which is the front of the house at top left. They stated the little girl or a little child girl was there, but they also stated there was a priest in the room. Now, if you go online, there is nothing to do with the priest anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I had all 4 mediums say there was a priest in this room. At this point, I didn't know what to do. All I knew was there was a monk there, and obviously Jean Pritchard. Anything else was beyond me. But, like I said, I just think it's one of those I would sit on the fence. The activity in that house started off when I basically got off the phone from one of my members who was coming to the house at that moment in time. It was about 6 o'clock. And the door, as you go through the front door, you've got the toilet on the right, and the next door is a pantry. In this pantry is a normal old school chair facing the door. Behind it is a shelf with candles, a mirror, and what looks like a miner's hat. But behind the chair is 3 spades and forks, gardening tools.
Mm-hmm.
And we left the door open, and as I come off the phone, that door slammed. We had nothing else after that with the door at all. Yet we were told that was one area to keep an eye on. We had all our activity in the front room where we were talking to children. We managed to get through to Fred the Black Monk, sorry. We picked up Jean Pritchard as well. And there was a few other unknown characters in there. I wasn't threatened. There was no threat to the house whatsoever. It was very, very peaceful, which I found very strange for the amount of hype for such a big location. The location itself is actually amazing to go in. I do advise people do go. It's like you walk in, you start off in 2022, you walk through the door and you're in the 1930s. And it's just like you're taken back completely. Before I did the mainstream for the walkthrough at the start of our investigation, I will be honest, they said this is the door, because I met 3 ladies, yeah. This is a door that goes into the stairway, up the stairs, up into the upstairs bit where the bedrooms and the bathroom was. I was very uncomfortable, and at one point I was very scared. Problem was, all I had to do was open the bleeding door. I walked through it, and you've got like a hallway. And the hallway is so cold. But you had different cold spots as you walked further and further up through the hallway. And the mirror, because obviously I got to watch UK Lockdown Paranormal for one of their events, and it was 30's Drive. So I'd had kind of an idea of what was their sort of thing. And I focused on the mirror at the bottom of the stairs, which then shines up to the top of the stairs, which also you'll be able to see the pictures on the page. And within the first 3 shots, my first set of 4 batteries were killed. I used 16 batteries in total, all brand new, all dead. I was only able to take 6 or 7 shots in total. I then proceeded up the stairs. We're doing the live feed, and the atmosphere changed. Throughout the whole night, whatever was upstairs didn't want any male presence up there. We had 3 females with us when we went to 30's Drive, and they had everything. They were able to communicate with everything up the stairs. The children, we did a blind spirit box up there where 2 of the ladies did that. They managed to, oddly how this sounds, apparently this black monk back in the 1500s, he was hung and thrown into a well apparently for killing and raping little girls. So we decided to look into it more. And when they did the blind spirit box, I will say I wasn't present. I was downstairs looking at the photo, which is the one that's causing a bit of problem at the moment. And they all stated that they named the girls' names and their ages. And we actually have that all on video, but obviously I haven't got the video up yet. I need to get it all sorted. And when they told me that myself, I was personally shocked because when I was downstairs, I was communicating with what we think is Fred through the dowsing rods. And he did say that he killed 5 or more girls, basically, but I didn't know exactly how many. But once they started this blind spirit box, it came out that he killed 8 and he named all their ages and their names. And apparently they're still around in the ground somewhere around the house, which I thought was strange. Which I thought was strange. Exactly. See, that's what I mean. They weren't found. There you go. One of my team members, Dave Myers, he's the one that actually did this blind spirit box. Yeah, Yeah, he got all the information on it all, and basically it was him that told me with two of the ladies that had actually done it. Now, the lady that actually did the blind spirit box is actually a skeptic, or was, until she did this. They also say that there's supposed to be the well that he was thrown down or wherever it was. When we did the dowsing rods, I had another member of the public use the dowsing rods the same as me at the same time, but I asked the question, so I was able to get the answers. But we used two sets of dowsing rods to try and confirm a definite answer. When we did the dowsing rods, now I'm sat in the front room on the sofa, and the sofa's on the back wall facing towards the main door, the front of the house where you come through. And then you've got the young lady, the actual member of the public. She was sat in a chair opposite me, facing towards the front door as well. Now, when we did the rods, her rod stayed still and mine went to the left, but went right round my head, because obviously I had to lift them up because they were turning round, and they pointed that way. Now, as you come through the door or the gate at 30 East Drive, there is what looks like 4 stone slabs with gravel around it. That's where we think the well might well be. But the lady did ask, and I thought this was kind of an odd question to ask, is she asked, is your bones or is your remains still in this well? And he replied, yes. I had to stop from that point with the dowsing rods, because all of a sudden I had this feeling of sad emotions come over me. I was quite taken back. I've got children myself, and to hear that as a father, I just became very sickened. It changed my night for me personally, because all night we've been talking to what we thought was children in the front room, and we actually think now one of them was Fred impersonating a child.
See, that's the thing. You get a child spirit through. We've had no very many. We've had 2 or 3. Investigation. We think it's a child. We had it last year. We thought it was a child that was talking to, but there were children there. We thought there was at least 2. Maybe we thought it was 3, but it turned out one of them was a man. Who,
it's horrible. Because we got told when I started doing this, and I work with Mickey Vermouche, who's our main medium. He's basically explained to me that a demonic presence or an entity that isn't supposed to be there or is unwelcoming can start and will start posing as a child first to gain your trust before it starts to really go with you. And we thought, well, when we started getting all the answers off the dowsing rods, and then the girls and that did the upstairs with the blind spirit box, for me, it was a lot. I was downstairs. I'm not going to lie. I was looking at the picture. The picture for me was the highlight for me. I was too intrigued about that picture, because once I'd seen it, it started to race through my mind about, is this the monk? Now, the thing that's caught my eye more than anything is when we were in the house, they've got a smoke room in the back of the house. And it's got all the pictures that people have taken over the years and what they've caught. All their images are dark. They're shadow images. One of them's got an SLS image as well. What it is, I don't know. I saw one today where there was what looks like a little boy stood next to a person. And then on the other side of him was what looked like a lady of some sort. I couldn't work it out. But the picture I took is bright white. And it's so highly defined as a figure or image or object, I'll say, because I don't know what it is, and I'm not going to assume what it is. For me, it just doesn't add up. It looks like, for me personally, a cloak from a monk, and it looks like they've got their arms like that across them. Now you can see the curtains, that's clear as day, and you can see the light coming in. I won't deny that. But when somebody darkened it, the image, it's so highly defined. I just don't know, mate. You know what it's like? You get one of those images where everyone's going to argue about it for years to come because there is no answer. This is one of those images And I totally agree. What got me most of all about the image is I didn't actually see this. It was one of the customers. I obviously saw what looked like the monk shape, but if you look on the shoulder, or what looks like the shoulder, there's a set of teeth, and you can see the nose and the two eyes. Now, I took this shot through a mirror towards the corner of the bedroom I can't remember the young boy's name, but it was in the far corner at the top of his bed. And there was light there, but there's not enough for it to come through because it was 7 o'clock at night. It was overcast and we were having rain at that moment in time.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of factors with it all, but this other face appeared, and it was the face that I saw that put me off a bit, because that face would need to be next to me in order to look into the mirror at the same time I took the shot with whatever I caught behind me. And that, it just makes you think, we don't really know what is in that house. I can't say that that's that lad. I can't say that that picture's the monk. For all I know, that could be just somebody out of the blue that's been brought in. The problem with the house, I think, like I said earlier, is 70 people a week go into that house. I don't know how many people go through, how long it's been open for to do this, but people have attachments. And, they've got dolls in that there. You know as well as I do that dolls, if an attachment or something comes off, it will go into an object, usually a doll. It's a vessel. They come and go, all these energies. The house itself has so many different energies that at one point, one of the members of the public actually left the house because it was too much for him. And this is the second investigation he's been on with me. He did Nocturne Hall with me, but he struggled with the energies in his house because he feels a lot of things. Downstairs, everyone will tell you it was brilliant. It was calm, relaxed. Everyone felt at peace. As soon as you were at the bottom of them stairs, it changed. It felt like hell, mate. It was such a different experience for a man. We had one lady that was there, and she's got like a medium abilities, I'd say. And she refused to go in the bathroom upstairs. Not one member of the team or public that we took to 30 East Drive entered that bathroom. We all stood at the door.
Nobody would go on.
There was no reason for it. The problem is, as well as I do, places are hyped up, people read about them, and then it becomes a psychological thing, doesn't it? It's like Edinburgh Vaults. People will hear that there's been many attacks in there, and they recorded over 200 recorded attacks in there in the past. Doesn't mean it's going to happen.
Exactly. But I know exactly. We've done a whack of stuff, and I've said this on quite a few lives in Edinburgh. That's when we first started doing them. We've done tons in Edinburgh. It's like Greyfriars. I love Greyfriars. I've always felt a connection to Greyfriars for many years. Every time I go to Edinburgh, whether it might not be investigating, it might just be a shop trip.
Yeah.
I need to go to Greyfriars. Even if it's for 5-10 minutes. And funny enough, we were saying earlier on about when you step into that house, it feels like you're back in the 1960s, whatever. That's the way Greyfriars is. Greyfriars sits on one of the main roads in Edinburgh, and that road is constantly buses, cars, you name it, tourists a lot. As soon as you step in the gates, you just feel like you're taken back to the.
You feel like you're there, don't you?
You what? Sorry.
You actually feel like you're there that time period.
Aye, you feel like you've went way back, and I think a lot of you're not going to investigate in Greyfriars anymore. They're not. Investigations have been banned for some time, but I think Greyfriars was hyped up. It's called the most haunted graveyard in the world. So I think teams were going expecting, this is Greyfriars. We're going to get flying headstones, or we're going to get major stuff. And we've investigated it before we knew about the ban. 3 or 4 times. Sarah's my partner and co-founder. And we've had nothing. Absolutely. And we've went at all different times of the day. We've done the 3 o'clock in the morning as well, tried that. And the only thing, again, you were saying earlier about Jane batteries. Our batteries lasted about 15 minutes each. And you know, that was time ago, you know, with nothing. So I do think, some places do get hyped up, and then you go into them, and you get nothing. But you mentioned the vaults. We done Nidri Street vaults last year, and it was really strange. Everybody was there, heard this male voice in one of the rooms saying "why," just one word, "why." Everybody heard it. Everybody turned around at the same time and looked in the same direction. But none of our, with 6 cameras, I think, none of our video worked out. All the cameras failed. You know, we brought them
You
home.
don't find that odd? I find lately we've been doing a lot of camera work, and 30 East Drive was a prime example. One of the team was doing video footage, and he's come back to me today and he said, the footage is gone. I did the doll's house. I'm missing. I did the doll's house where they actually allow you to use their CCTV. So I put in my memory card, off it went. In the morning, took the memory card, went home, put it in the laptop. I'm missing 10 hours of footage. I feel if they don't want to be watched or seen, they'll do it. What's to stop them?
I totally believe that as well. It happened to me up here. There was one day I went to a Drossen Castle, done a wee bit of filming, then I went to Culwinning Abbey, filmed, and then I went to Eglinton Park, filmed. I went home, I had the footage from a Drossen in Eglinton. The footage for Culwinning wasn't there. So what I did was I went back again one night, just myself, and I went, you know, walked around the graveyard, what have you, filmed it, went home, no footage again. And, you know, I'm not saying it's paranormal, but I just think that's really, really strange.
Odd. Yeah, it is. I feel if they don't want to be seen, they won't be seen. It's like with all the photographs. I tell all the public and my team, don't take photos in the obvious places. I've been told that obviously everything with a shiny surface acts as a two-sided mirror. So it could be a portal or anything. So now I have the habit of using glass windows, mirrors to take all my shots. And it's starting to show now the results that I'm starting to get, regardless of whether people think it's lens flare or light distortion or anything else. I feel now that if they can see you, why would they come out? If you can't see them, then, I mean, I've got all sorts of things. I bought cameras where I've got wires that bend around corners to try and catch them. Because at the end of the day, if they can't see me, I've got a better chance than anyone else has of catching them. I know to be fair, if I passed on, I wouldn't want to have my picture taken. Why would I?
You wouldn't want to be a model. I mean, I'm rubbish at taking photographs. I am crap, you know. Well, I say I'm crap. I've took some, you know, maybe a handful of good ones, you know, not very many. But I tend to just take random photographs, you know, about, say you're in a graveyard, for example. I'll just kind of stand and just take photographs, you know. I use a lot of them in TikTok, you know, but it's amazing what you can pick up in photographs. There was one of the weirdest things that happened to us last year. It's a place we did it 2-3 weeks ago, actually, Loudon Kirk, it's called. We've been there quite a few times, but we took a photograph in there once, and I think there was about 6 days there, and we looked at the photograph, and there's a stone cross headstone, and everybody's seen this little girl with black hair and looked like some kind of white dress, some kind of white top on anyway, peeking round the side of this headstone. We looked back at the photograph and she was gone. Now, everybody's seen it, you know, maybe 70s, including myself. We all seen this at the same time. And it was, there's a wee girl. And then we looked back to, where the hell is she? She's gone. You know, but no doubt, folks, if you're talking rubbish, we're all hallucinating or, you know, LSD or something like that, whatever. But we can't explain that. And that's the great things about photographs. Sometimes we do take photographs that can be debunked. We done it at Greyfriars. Sarah and I took a photograph one night, and it looked. I was up against the side of the church, and the only way I'm going to describe it is it looked like a wizard, pointy hat, beard, old man, you know. And I put it into this group that we were in at the time. We took this photograph. What do you think? And this guy came back. The guy was totally nice, you know, totally legit. And he says, "Listen, mate, I've ripped your photograph apart. It's a plant pot." And he put it up. He says, "There's your photograph. That's where you took a photograph." And it was a plant pot, you know. Once you see, and I mailed him back saying, "Thanks very much, buddy. I wasn't sure what it was, but I'm glad."
That's fine, mate. I mean, with my pictures now, I'm at the point, unless obviously the one that I took, there's a lot of people been telling me that 30 East Drive is a complete fake. There's nothing there or anything like that. I went there specifically to look for evidence. I didn't think it'd be a picture. I didn't think it would be during one of the lives, but we got it all. And that picture for me, I silenced, for me, a lot of critics, because everyone kept telling me it's dead. There's no point going. It's useless. You're dead. You're dead. You're not going to get seen again. Then I brought this interesting question up with the people that I was actually there at 30 East Drive with. Now, obviously, we see animals, and obviously people can see dead people, mediums and that. And I turned around to them and don't even ask why I asked this question, but I asked the question is, how come we don't see dinosaurs?
I've heard that question before. People, how do we not see
dinosaurs in cavemen? We spent over 2 hours talking about that one topic. And they all reckon it's because they can't communicate with us. They're not that intelligent as such. And I was trying to, still trying to wrap my brains about it now. People say they can see ghosts. I don't doubt that. I've seen things unexplainable, I'll say. I won't say what they are, but I'll say it's unexplainable to me. How can we not see dinosaurs? You hear animals and people, but never dinosaurs. Yet they were on here before we were.
We were talking millions of them, but they were kind of like the first ones here, basically, in a way. Now, I've heard that question before, John, being asked. The question I've been asked quite a few times is, have you ever seen a ghost? And I say, well, to my knowledge, no. Because how do we know what a ghost really looks like? You've got all these images, really. The white sheet, the see-through person,
E.T. is
dozens and dozens of images, But then I've spoke to people who say a ghost, a spirit, can be totally solid, like you and me.
It's funny because we were talking about all that as well, and it's someone said apparently that 1 in 10 people are actually dead that or in the street, or you actually see as you're in the street. And I thought to myself, if that's true, everybody's seeing this, surely. I mean, I've seen things like a guy riding a bike down where I live, near the woods. I live near an old POW camp. A guy on a bicycle riding down. He gets to the corner and he's not there. He's gone. Is that me seeing something, or is that my mind playing tricks as such?
Just really fast.
It's happened many times where we are here. He's literally just gone past the house on a bike. You look down the road, he's gone. Literally gone. And you're like that. Where is he? Is that my mind playing tricks, or is that actually something going on? And like I said, my house where I live is on the outskirts of a massive POW camp. And unfortunately, it's very active. My house has many things going on in it. I've had mediums in here say that you've got around about 16 children in here. And we know that because they play with the Xboxes. They turn the lights on and off on the Xboxes. The door handle goes. We've had knocking, banging, cat balls, everything playing in the house. It's friendly. I love it. I think it's brilliant to see.
We've got, as far as we know, we've done 2 investigations in here, and I think we've got 3 spirits in here. And I've seen something shooting by the door, and I've been watching the telly. But people probably say we're nuts, but there's too many wee bits and pieces. You know yourself, John, these all wee bits and pieces happen. Our cats have got a habit; they'll stare at one particular spot in the hallway. We've got a catch on the laser grid behind us. Computer's a wall. One night we done an investigation and we put the laser grid on it, and it was Sarah the next day that she was looking back through it and she noticed, and she slowed it right down in real time. It just flies right by. She slowed it right down, and you can see it. The silhouette of a man going across that back wall. And the most common, I don't know if you get this, the most common thing we get is, you know, you're sitting on the bed and somebody sits beside you.
Yeah, and you see the bed go down. Yeah.
Aye.
We think it's more a pet. We think it's a dog.
We cats. We think it's a cat's. You turn round and there's nothing there.
It's
and
just hard to explain it,
this point.
It's hard to explain it to people who have never seen things like this. And if you haven't caught it on camera, people look at you as if you're daft. Now, the problem we've got with technology now is, obviously, lately, I think they've only just brought it out, is the fact that you can remove people from photographs using mobile phone technology. So for a paranormal investigator now, trying to take pictures and do all these videos is going to be very hard for us as we go forward. Life for us as investigators, mediums and everything else will be hard. Because like you said then, and like I said, if you've got an animal, a pet, you know, that's passed, and then all of a sudden you watch the bed go down and you do physically see it yourself with your eyes, there is a marking in the bed. I mean, we got a memory foam mattress, so we see it quite a few times, and it's usually down by my feet.
Mm-hmm.
But you take a shot of that, and anybody will say, but you could have had your legs there. You could have been sitting there. You could have had a child sit there. Our biggest problem in the paranormal field at the moment is there's a lot of people who are taking pictures who assume things are what they are and they're not. Also, the fact that they think that others try to use others' information and photos and content that they've got and bet themselves. For an investigator, for me, it's not about fame. It's not about money. It never will be. For me, it's entertainment. You know, I love to entertain the public. I always have done as a child. Doing the paranormal for me it helps me with my mental health as well. Now, my mental health has improved so much doing this because I have, like, how can I put it? I have to go out of my comfort zone. You know, and putting myself out of my comfort zone, like everyone will tell you in my team, I used to be a scaredy cat. I wouldn't walk anywhere dark. Now I'm an idiot. I'll walk into the dark and not think twice. But it's taken years, granted. But while these years have been going on, I've developed better with my mental health, like PTSD and all that. You know, because I suffer with photographical images. If I see something, it's either real. It's going to be real to me, unfortunately, 9 times out of 10. If it's not, it's not. But I do struggle with my mental health. And doing the paranormal is brilliant. I love it. It's just a shame we don't have many honest teams and people out there now who are willing to actually do it for paranormal rather than money, fame, and everything else that comes with it.
I totally agree, buddy. We're nothing special. We try to be different. Not special. I always emphasize this: different, not special. As in, we try and think outside the box. We're no experts. We're just a small team for Kilmarnock. You know, we've got a couple of people staying in Hamilton as well. Yeah. But I actually said this. We had Spig on last night, Scottish Paranormal Investigations Group, and that says, and I've said this a couple of times. If Sky TV was to chap our door tomorrow and say, look, we want you to do a show on the paranormal, I would tell them to get stuffed.
Not interested.
You know,
I'm not experienced enough for that sort of thing, and I don't want to look like a fool. 2, I'm not the sort of person to be on telly, unfortunately, to do that sort of thing. And 3, I don't want to be swamped over something, you know. Anyone can do it. Let's be honest. Let's really be honest about this. Anybody can do or become a paranormal investigator.
Aye.
As long as you've got a piece of paper, a pen, a camera, or a phone to take pictures, you can be a paranormal investigator. It's just learning over time. But if a big company came to me and asked me, would you do a set? Sorry, no. I'm not in it for money. I'm not in it for fame. For me personally, it's about the history of my country being I'm ex-forces, one. And two, I love it. I think it's brilliant. It's something different. Yeah, exactly. It's everything. Every time we go out, or even you go out, you'll know as well as I will. It's completely different every time. And it's a cracking experience. We do private cases, we're not just a paranormal team. Obviously, we do a lot of house investigations, and I totally agree. There is plenty of teams out there, Philip, but unfortunately, there is teams at this moment in time who aren't, and they are out for one thing, and it's a shame because it makes our life a lot harder. Locations, all sorts. I say I'm a small team. I've got 20 in my team at the moment, and obviously we're looking to expand because of events. But we're struggling as a team because of other bigger teams are literally just taking everything. And the way it's being done now, for us, there seems to be more skeptics or more people because of people being messaged, inboxed, asking for messages, and then having their bank accounts rinsed. They come onto our page as a new person, new member, and you try to be honest with it all, do it all like how they expect, and then all of a sudden they're just like, no, we're not interested. Whatever you say is not true. It's fraud. You're defrauding how can I put it, the public. You're misleading them, and it's really hard now.
We're just a small team. We've got an American team as well, based in Oregon, and we just do what we do. But I mean, what Philip says there is totally true. There's loads and loads of groups in the UK that they're not in it for the fame, but they're in it because they love it. It's a passion. They want to do it, and it does get addictive. You know yourself. You're out in an investigation, and you maybe get this clear EDP or something else. All right, I want that's you. You want to keep going and going. So I do agree with Philip. There is, as you say, John, there is a handful of teams who are just wanting, the fame or the stars. It's a small group spoil it for everybody else.
Exactly, and it just makes our lives a lot harder as small teams trying to do it as a hobby. I mean, I don't know if you know what it's like with members. I mean, obviously this is my third team. I had Spooks and Ghouls to start off with. I was the CEO of Spooks and Ghouls. Having members wasn't an issue. This was before COVID. Ever since COVID's happened, everyone's like really cautious where they go, who they talk to, what they do, joining groups. I used to have 25,000 fan base on Spooks and Ghouls. Nighthawk Paranormal UK has been going 4 months, and we haven't even got 2,000. And I just don't understand. Even us promoting publicly, doing all sorts, how we can't get people to come in and watch our lives and everything. Like I said, it's so hard now because people are seeing certain groups and they're put off by it. And I don't know if you have the same problem up there, mate, but for us, it's really hard down here. We're competing with at least 15 big teams down here.
You see, we don't do kind of events or anything. We just sail along our own speed. There's quite a few. I'll put this up. Shark infested pool, Elby, just carry on. Red.
Exactly, Philip. It's not for me, it's not about numbers. Figures are nothing. For me, it's the entertainment side. For me, with customers, obviously, and meeting new people. For me, meeting new people is a big thing.
See, just get back to what you're saying about what it's like up here. There's no really. Say we don't do events, so we don't have any kind of issues that way. As far as viewers are concerned, numbers, we actually do okay, But at the end of the day, I mean, we don't bother about we love all our followers. We're grateful for every follower we get.
Exactly.
Every team likes to see their number going up. I like to see it going up because I use the number more as a guide. So, if your numbers are going up and you're doing something that people are enjoying, whether it's your investigations or these podcasts or whatever,
Yeah.
there's no. I couldn't honestly tell you about the competition up here, John, because we don't take part in it. We do our own thing basically.
I'm not going to lie to you, but Lincolnshire and Yorkshire are very savage. There is a lot of teams here. The competition is absolutely ridiculous for views, money, fame, the lot. It's all in two areas. It's for us. It's hard to compete with as a team we are, but I've changed I've changed the tactics of the team. I've looked at it from another angle after speaking to a couple of members now, and for us this year, it's not about it's never been about profits. It never will be for us. It's about the fact of trying to make a network, get a network going of people, new people. Obviously now we've started working with a lot of teams. That was something I didn't do to start off with. Now I've started working with teams, and I've met some really, really nice people and friends that I have now as well. I went to one location. We did the Doll's House in London, Isle of Sheppey. I've got near enough the whole of their team coming up to do Edinburgh Vaults with us in October. It's been good. We seem to be now with teams getting along a lot better than what I was or what have been going on. But like I said, the competition up here is savage. People are constantly going on about figures, how many people you have in your group. It's ridiculous, mate. It really is.
To me, it doesn't matter if you've got maybe 2 people in your team or 22. We used to have a big team, but stuff happened last year and it got whittled down basically. And I think a smaller team now, I think works better.
Yeah.
Sarah and I, we're very, very blessed to have a fantastic team. Both here and over in the States as well. Yeah. And we click well. We go out. We have a wee bit of laugh and joke, but we go out and we're doing investigations and lives and everything. And so, as far as I'm aware, I might be wrong. As far as I'm aware, we live in a town called Kilmarnock, which is Nearshire. So we're about maybe an hour's drive from Edinburgh. We're on the west coast, and I think there's only us and one other team in our town. There's plenty of teams around about Glasgow area, which is about 20 miles from here.
Yeah.
And we've spoke to quite a lot of them. We had one on last night that we're going to be meeting up with next week, the following week. So there's no really a big competition that I'm aware of. I do emphasise that I'm aware of doing here. We don't really have any bother, but if we had anybody come and saying, well, here's your competition, I would say, go and get stuffed. Go and do what you're doing.
Exactly. It's just mate, it's ridiculous down here. Absolutely ridiculous. That a lot of teams, but old teams as well, that have been going 5-10 years. A few of my friends, their teams have collapsed this year alone. They've been doing it 5-10 years. It's all because, obviously, here we have another problem: is our locations are being stamped on. Either they're now going private, being privately bought, or they're being basically demolished. And it's really hard to, round here because we're starting to lose that sort of thing. So people are now doing a lot more wooded areas. We've got 2 in particular we do, but other than that, I try to stick with the main buildings now. But unfortunately, we're struggling for locations where we live because they're just disappearing, mate. They're becoming very rare now, locations. Like I said, they're either being turned into new businesses, or they're being sold on, or they're being demolished. I mean, you take RF Manby, where I live, we got RF Manby. There was a massive fire, I think, 2 or 3 years ago, and it destroyed the whole building. It was an amazing building, but now there's nothing left of it. And all they'll do with it now is demolish it.
That's the same up here. And in Glasgow, there's some. Sarah and I have been out. Last year we were in the car, and We took a wee kind of tour. I'm from Glasgow originally, so I know quite a lot of, places. I lived all my days in Glasgow. There's quite a lot of old buildings, like asylums, hospitals, in Glasgow that are just lying empty.
Yeah.
But they're fenced off. You cannot get into them. They're covered in CCTV cameras. Or this one particular building is Guth Cross, I think it's Sarah be able to tell me, but Guth Cross it's called. It's an old asylum. This place was massive. We were up last year. They turned some of it into private housing. But the rest of the building, which is still a fair size, they're demolishing it.
It's the same as St John's here in Lincolnshire. When I went to see it, obviously it's the old asylum. When I went to see it, half of it had already been turned into housing and brand new flats, and I'm like, that. What? Now I'm seeing people still taking videos, doing filming in these places, yet half of it's already converted. It's really sad. For me personally, to go to a decent asylum now, I have to go to places like Wales.
You need travel.
Yeah, exactly. Bromwell Gough. We've got the one in Leeds, but I don't know what's going on with that at the moment. Apparently, they're supposed to be renovating that or converting it into some housing. You've got the one in Caister. They had Caister, the asylum there. That's been knocked down. The old workhouse. It's all been converted into a new housing estate. Our history up here, and it's quite sad because obviously you can see I've got a southern accent. I was born here up in Lincolnshire, but all the places up here are starting to disappear through housing. They're being knocked down. Our history's disappearing, mate, and fast.
It's the same. There's a lot of old buildings. There's one in Paisley, which is just outside Glasgow. It's called the Old Royal Alexandra Hospital. This again was massive. It's meant to be really, really active. Half of it is all locked up. You can't get in. Although you can get in if you kind of do it illegally, which we're no keen on.
We don't. Permission first.
But the other half is private flats, and there's 3 or 4 people, individual flat, selling their flats because of the activity that's going on in these flats.
It's silly, isn't it? People don't understand. When you go to a location, for me, I don't think it's the building. Yes, it might have the history of the building now from whoever's there, but for me, it's the land. And in Scotland, the amount of wars you've had in the past, the grounds are what's there, not the building. The building could be anything. You know that as well as I do. But when you start investigating, it's the grounds, what's on the grounds. And what people don't realise is because they don't believe in this sort of thing, which I think in a way is quite sad, because it can be serious. As you just said there, people are starting to sell because of the activity. They're not liking it. Why would you go building a housing estate on something like that? I just find it odd.
That's to say, obviously you'd be familiar with Edinburgh, you'll be familiar with the Covenanters prison.
Yeah.
Greyfriars. There's over 3,000 documented attacks attached to the Black Mausoleum, which is in the prison. For many, many years, people said the Black Mausoleum was where George Mackenzie was buried. It's not. Two totally different things. People think it's a Black Mausoleum that they're saying. We've been there. We've done the prison a few times. We've investigated the mausoleum. I've got my own theory on this. I'm going to tell you, the Black Mausoleum is a burial plot of the Dundas family, who were a well-respected family, nothing to do with Mackenzie or the Covenanters. Now, when the Covenanters were in prison there was no tombs there. It was just empty fields. But the guards were known to be very brutal, with random daily beatings of prisoners. Hundreds of prisoners died there. So I think the attacks are coming from you. There is definitely an atmosphere as soon as you go for the Kirkyard, and you definitely feel the atmosphere. My theory is that it's one of the guards that's still there and still sees this area as his, because back then it was just off fields, and that would have been that was their territory basically. They ruled there. it just doesn't make any sense that the Dundas family would be involved because they came after the Covenanters. You know, again, the buildings came after the Covenanters. I think it's the guard, one of the guards, who is still in there thinking it's his. Jem is from Hectic Paranormal Down Under. She's nuts. Same as her partner, our teammate Kate. Two of them are insane. Lovely girls. Fans by the horrible culture has become paranormal field, and also no one has any respect for history anymore.
I totally agree with it. That is it in a nutshell, really, isn't it? It's the word respect for a start, isn't it? That's what it comes down to. Let's look at some of our buildings nowadays. It's either tattooed with graffiti or the windows have gone through.
Mm-hmm.
It's what has happened. What has happened
last year? An old house dates back to the 1703 or 17. There's 1703 or 1723. There's dispute over the date, but there's graffiti everywhere you go. You know, spray paint, and they just don't. And cheers, Jem Doll, for sharing it out. They just don't have the respect for what that building represents. I mean, and as Jem says, nobody actually respects history anymore. That's why we love history. I do respect. That's why I love Edinburgh. It doesn't matter where you go in the old town in Edinburgh. The place is loaded with history. You know, it could be a close. It could be a bit. It could be a bit of the Flodden Wall. Look how many people walk by the Flodden Wall in Greyfriars every day and don't actually know what it represents.
Strange, isn't it? It's like Arthur's Seat as well, isn't it? It's like Arthur's Seat and the Cowgate.
Mm-hmm.
The old part of the city there. It's Edinburgh's amazing. It is an amazing city. It's just a shame that unfortunately there's not that many sites there that you can actually go and see. And they have shut down part of the vaults, haven't they? I believe in 2000 it was open to the public, and then it was shut down because I was up there between 2000 and 2002. You know, I got that privilege of going in there at that moment in time, and the screams and the noises you hear.
Oh, it's an amazing place, shocking. And the sheer history. And I mean, right down the book, one example is the Guth Cross. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Guth Cross.
No.
GIRTH. If you go down to the bottom of the Royal Mile, there's a roundabout, but just before you get to the roundabout, there's a stone in the middle of the road. It's bricks, the shape of a circle. It's maybe about 2 or 3 feet, diameter, whatever you call it. It just sits in the middle of the road. It's a wee island in the middle of the road. Hundreds of people walk over that every day, but what they don't realise is where that circle is. That was one of the old execution spots in Edinburgh. That was the first place. I mean, you've heard of the guillotine.
Yeah.
That was where the maiden was used. The maiden was an early form of guillotine. And that's
shocking, isn't it?
Beheaded, right, it's shocking, on that isn't it? Circle.
It's just shocking how people don't know about these things.
It really is. By it every day.
These places would become more attractive. Cities, towns would be more attractive if the history was available to more people and more of it, as in more history. I mean, I live, like I said, outside of a massive POW camp. Lucky for me that my partner, her grandfather, was actually at this POW camp, so we have family ties to the camp as well. But I haven't found much on it. But what I have started to find now, while I've been here, it's amazing. I'm starting to look at things from a different perspective. Yes, it's only a wooded area now, but there's other places I've been to, buildings. Skidbrook Church is one of ours at the moment. They say it's supposed to be the most haunted church in England. Yes, I've heard things. I can't say I've seen things, only through a live feed. Someone caught a picture. But other than that, nothing much. But it's very satanic. They do a lot of satanic rituals here. And I've actually been caught up where I've gone to the gates and I've been moved on by 3 guys in black hooded cloaks because whatever they were doing, nothing to do with me. I just walk away. But they've now... Hey?
Just move along, sunshine. Nothing to see here. Keep going.
Yeah, basically. But the thing is, they were carrying weapons. So it made it more suspicious for me. So I did, with my team, as always, up we go, we're going. We don't need to be here. Let them do what they want. But now they've put a massive fence around the building. You can't actually access the church no more. And it's a shame because the church, it's absolutely phenomenal. The history into that place is absolutely awesome. What people don't realise is this main story is about a monk who tried to defend a young female from being raped and beaten by 3 other monks. And obviously they killed both of them in the end. But the 3 monks are supposed to, their spirits are supposed to be still in the church, basically. You can hear them and all sorts. But people go there, and like Gemma said, there's no respect. I got there one time, and they're shooting a gothic porno in this church. I was absolutely dumbfounded. While this is going on, there's kids running around kicking headstones. Now, you know, you got your big stone tomb sort of graves where they come out, they're fully boxed. 3 of those are being kicked through. You know, the windows are being kicked through. For me, that site's no longer what it was. There's no magic to it anymore. It's being desecrated for me.
That's what happened in Greyfriars. That's why the council banned. I mean, there's numerous. I've not seen every team. You know, there's loads of teams have been into Greyfriars investigating, but there was a handful of teams getting in, and they were climbing over the flooding wall, sitting in headstones, and things were getting destroyed. And the council said, "You know what? Enough's enough. No more." So now, if you want to investigate in Greyfriars, you need a permit. You need to apply for a permit from the council, and it's solely because of people getting in and sitting on top of headstones or climbing or jumping over them, climbing over the water. I mean, you know, these places are hundreds of years old.
But that's history, mate.
You know, and they're climbing over a wall, and the council says, "You know what? We're done. We're totally done. No more." As discussing, Jeff, the whole.
But this is really... what, for us, this is what we deal with as paranormal teams. I think the best one I've ever been to is I did an investigation at RAF Manby before the big fire. And I walked into the main officers' room where they have basically the ballroom, and then they have this balcony. I've walked in, and there's a kid with his DJ decks on top of this balcony with 2 massive speakers down on the floor by by the bar area. He's got a generator. Now, there's over 100 kids in there and having a rave. It's an old RAF camp.
You imagine about the damage and the mess.
It's been destroyed. It was destroyed that night. I mean, we had to speak to the police about being left on site because I had permission at the time from, I think it was one of the caretakers or somebody else. I was allowed to stay. The officers took the team name and we all wore ID badges so they knew who we were. They allowed us to continue our investigation, but we had to leave after half an hour after doing it because it's just shocking. Over 100 kids in an old building like that having a rave. I was just completely struck by it. And the police were there and the police were like recording it all, but nothing happens. Yet we go in as investigators to a place like that. We're the first ones to get done for breaking and entering.
You're the first one to get picked up and kicked through. As to say, I don't know if you're familiar with the Ivy House. Have you heard of the Ivy House?
No.
At just outside Warrington.
No. Not been there yet. Quite a bit.
That's quite an active location. The story goes that there was a doctor who owned a professor. It was a doctor, but it was called a professor, and he murdered his wife in the building and chopped her up in the back.
Oh,
several teams have investigated there. Charlie and Rox have investigated there. We're quite friendly with.
Yeah, I know who you mean.
dragging sounds and footsteps, etc. There. So we went down with Charlie and Rox and Roisin Wonderland in March for an investigation. It was a very, very quiet night, but you know yourself, John, these locations don't always produce,
No.
Um,
What's the problem with people now looking at they expect?
Aye. So we were driving down thinking, oh, it's going to be a good night,
Yeah, like you do.
It's the adrenaline starts going, go to the Ivy House, let's go. And you get there, and it was a fantastic night. Everybody was there, all great people as well. Very, very little activity. But there was graffiti all over the walls and everything. And what a GSI, they'd done it previous, and I phoned John, I was quite close to them. I phoned him and says, right, Sarah's disabled. So the first thing I always check with locations is accessibility. Is it safe, to get in and out?
Yep.
And I says to John, Ivy House, buddy, what's the story? We say, can we get in? Can we go? Okay, he says, I know you'll get in. He says, we just watched because the last time we were there was a whole big pile of needles, syringes, just lying on the floor. He says, we had to gather them up and get rid of them, basically. He says, you might get kids in there. He says, you might get junkies, or I hate using the word, but that's people drinking, what have you. Luckily, we went, there was nobody there except us, but places where they're going in, these people are going in and shooting up or whatever the hell they're doing. And they don't realise the history of this place.
No, we did that at the Lord Lyme building. Obviously, another one of my pictures I took, where it looks like there's a child, and you can actually see the side of his face on the actual picture. Believe it or not, that's was a big fishing port, St Andrews in Hull, and that has a lot of history to it as well. But there's a lot of homeless there. There is, like you said, drug addicts, and there's even children there as well. You've got to be so careful with places like that nowadays. It is silly,
I think James in Australia, but I think she's originally from Hull, maybe.
I'm sure no, St Andrews Quay then. And it's really sad because there's 3 buildings there. One of them you can't access that well because it's collapsed. But the other 2, one of them's just pure concrete and the other one's old offices. They've been totally annihilated, trashed and all sorts. You've got homeless in there. There's, like you said, beer cans, needles. There's all sorts in there. This is why now I prefer to do places for events. There you go. Yeah, exactly. So you know what I'm on about, Jem, with St Andrews Quay. It's a shame because the buildings themselves were nice places. Now they're a total dump. It's hard to believe how things are changing too quick. In reality.
It's funny you say that, John, because last week Laura, who's in our teams, was in the chat. It was last week, the week before, the kids were on holiday, and we in Glasgow was a transport museum. It was next a link to the Kelvin Hall, but they built a new one a few years back, and it sits right on the River Clyde. And so Sarah was working, and so Lauren and I went up to the transport museum, and there's big windows you can stand and you can look over the river, And I was standing looking out, and you can see where the ships used to dock, because the Clyde was a great shipbuilding, the Govan shipyards, everything.
Yeah.
And it's sad to stand there and look out that window, and you're trying to imagine in your mind all these ships that used to come up and down there, used to be, docked, parked up, whatever, and the amount of ships that used to be actually built there, and now it's just...
There's nothing, is there? There's nothing.
It's just all gone. And me, it's like last week, it's quite sad because I remember I watched quite a few launches of ships when the shipyards were still open. It was a big event, it'd be advertised everywhere, and you get hundreds of people going up the line across the river, and for this ship getting launched. And you don't get that anywhere. So it's just all
sad, isn't it? It really is sad.
I've just realised we've been on for an hour, and I've not asked you anything about yourself yet.
Oh well, mate. There's always another time.
We always start usually. So how the usual questions? How did you start out? What attracted you to it? You know, but I thought I'd make it a wee bit different. But I just realised I've not asked the guy anything about himself. So just before we go, give us a quick rundown of who John is.
All right, then. So in 2018, February 18th, I met a guy basically who's also ex-forces. He was a Royal Green Jacket, and he was into, or he is into his paranormal. I met him, and he started to show me the ropes on investigations. Yes, she got you, Scott. She got you big time, mate. All these pictures in that, and because we're both ex-forces, I have a fascination with infrared cameras and what they can do. Now, on my tablet S4, the picture is up online. I took a picture in between two superstores, one Asda, one Tesco, and when I was on a railway bridge, looking down into what looked like a scrapyard for road traffic collision cars that have been involved in serious accidents. And the first picture I ever caught was what looks like, clear as day, a picture of a baby. And that, from that day, for me, seeing that just on my old tablet, Samsung tablet S4, I was like, you know, maybe. Then I went to start investigating Bradley Woods, just outside Grimsby, or on the outskirts of Grimsby. And my first investigation was 2018, February 18th at 3 o'clock in the morning during the snow. So I've gone out investigating the legend of the Black Lady. Now, for those that don't know, the Black Lady was basically, she was attacked by 3 foreigners from Europe on hobblers, heavy armed cavalry horses, basically. They beat her, they raped her, they stole her baby, basically. And the story is believed that these people ride into the road away shouting out, Black Lady, we stole your baby. Now, if you say, Black Lady, I stole your baby 3 times, she's supposed to appear. Never happened. But when I've done K2s, dowsing rods, EMFs, all in this Bradley Wood area, we have had like responses from what would be the Black Lady. Now, her husband was sent to war. He died. But she's apparently around New Year time, she appears on the road just outside the woods in between the Nunny Woods and Bradley Woods, basically. So that's how I got into it. But then I was given a bigger chance where I was able to have a contract with RAF Bimbrook with the medical centre. And it was exclusive to Spooks and Ghouls at the time. And I learned a lot then about myself as a person and how to start investigating, because it's all right saying to people, all you need is a phone and a torch. It doesn't just work like that. For me, I like yourself, the history. I like to research a place. At the start of all this, I didn't believe, and I'm not going to lie, I was a skeptic. But once I started taking my own pictures and I started doing events and I started meeting new people and having their experiences, I started to sit on the fence more. I'm still not a believer now. I'm one of those that sits on the fence, and I always will be, because unless I've taken that picture or I'm in that picture on my own only, and there's something in there, I won't believe. And, you know, obviously this is why I do it. I just, you know, I love what I do now. It's brilliant. And I've been doing this, 4.5 years now, maybe just over, a little bit longer. Mm-hmm. And for me, it was about meeting people. My mental health has changed dramatically for me with PTSD. And the way I look at people now and how I speak and judge people now, I look at them at a different angle, because I used to be one of those that would think, you know, he's one of those, blah, blah, blah. He's definitely one of those. No, I'm not. I look at people who have beliefs, because with me, it's black and white. Now, people with beliefs now, I don't have issues with. I'll query them, but before, I would give them a hard time about it. Mm-hmm. But being a paranormal investigator, I've had to learn to adapt that anything is possible. You know, so for me as a person, I've developed quite far in this. and I've gone a long way. I've met so many people. I've worked with so many people as well, brilliant people. I get to talk to people like yourself and other people about experience that I have, and experience you have. And for me, I'm learning all the time. You'll never ever be 100% brilliant at this. Every day you learn something new. There is never a point where you are fully qualified, if that is a word, for paranormal investigation, for investigators or mediums.
I've heard people say before that they're qualified, but I'm not going to go there. But I totally get what you.
I'm not qualified, mate, by all means. I've got
a comment up there. Come hectic, John Paul will show you some common decency. Sometimes she stretches stretches her luck, whatever you call it. But just to get back to what you're saying about a skeptic, I've been into paranormal for a long time, and I do believe, there is something after here, after the physical.
Yeah.
But I'm also skeptic, and I think now this is just my opinion. I think when you're an investigator, that you need to be a skeptic as well, because not everything is paranormal. I've seen, no disrespect to them, I've seen a few teams, go and every single noise is paranormal.
No,
That's
is
paranormal.
it?
It could be somebody farting. Did you hear that? You need to take a step back.
Yeah.
Exactly. You need to take a step back and think, right, we heard a noise there. What could it be? I mean, like it's about a month ago, so we were doing an old church. We get very little activity, but we went out, it used to be the garden area, and we were in this wee one bit of particular area of grass, but I could hear it sound like footsteps coming through this bush area.
Yeah.
And I know some teams might have thought, well, there's something over there. I went and had a wander about with a torch. There was nothing, but it could have been a cat, a dog, could have been anything,
Exactly.
anything.
This is the problem, isn't it? People assume, 30s Drive, we had many noises. We heard dragging sounds. We heard knocks from back. We were all in the front room, and you can hear banging sounds upstairs. But what everyone has to remember is, furniture creaks, floorboards creak. It's just the way it is, Not everything's a bang. We had a massive bang about 5:30 in the morning at 30 East Drive. I was present, Daniel was present, and two members of the public were present at the time. And we all looked at each other, and we were at that point like, it's nothing. The house is resetting itself.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what it felt like. It felt like the house had literally reset itself. It was, it was just awesome how it was active for 1 minute, and then a certain time came and it all shut off and reset.
Disappeared. We've had that investigation's been active, and it just went,
But I think that's amazing how that happens, the reset. But like most people say,
that in investigation, but there's the skeptic, but it's just
you have to be open-minded.
You do. I'll give you a quick example. It was years and years ago. My kids were young, and now my ex-wife, thankfully, she went a night out, and with her up and downstairs, and I put the kids to bed, and I was down the stairs. I made the baby monitor on,
yeah,
and I could hear a bath running. I was watching the telly, I could hear a bath running. I thought one of the kids is up and playing about with the bath, so I went up the stairs. Kids was asleep, empty bath, blown dry. I'm back down the stairs, and I could hear it again. So you back up, nothing. And then I was sitting, and I could hear splashing and a young kid laughing. So I went back up the stairs, and there was absolutely nothing. And I wasn't getting freaked out, because I don't really get freaked out, but I was starting to think, what the?
Yeah, what's going on? Curious, definitely kicking in.
It was a couple of days later, I was out, and there was a guy who stayed 2 doors up from me. I was talking to him, and I was just saying to him, sitting watching the kids the other night, and I could hear through the monitor, bath running and some kid. He says, what time was it? I said, it says it was 9 o'clock. And he says, I said, 9 o'clock. He says, that was my kid you were listening to. Says, for some reason, your monitor has picked up our monitor. And
they're amazing, aren't they, those monitors?
I can't mind his wife's name, Kathy, whatever her name was. Kathy was bathing the wee at 9 o'clock the other night. I said, well, I could hear the bath running in my house through the monitor, you know. But then you get some people who say that was paranormal. You've got a ghost, you know, a ghost with bath up the stairs.
Prove it. That's the point. Prove it. When I do investigations, this is what I don't understand. When people do investigations, they go there to get evidence. I don't. I go there to debunk the location.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not. If there's things happen, you got to debunk it straight away. That's how I see it. If I can't debunk it, or the members of the public can't debunk it while I'm there with them, then maybe we have something on board. Otherwise, I'm not there to collect evidence. I'm there to debunk what's there at that moment in time, which is what we did at 30 East Drive. Right. It's just it's just a problem with that photo.
We go to try and capture evidence, but we always look about for a common cause for, you know, I don't care, you know, I can't even say the word, a different cause kind of thing. You know, you're kind of looking at, well, what could that have been, you know. I hate the word evidence. How do we actually know?
Do you know what? That's actually really good how you said that. It's the same as proof, isn't it? The word proof. Proof, evidence.
Mm-hmm.
You know, show me it.
I guess at the end of the day, you could just say, we like to go and see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, there's a house at the moment that we've started looking at a lot. We've just started working on it. We did a live just before we did 30 East Drive on the Saturday. I've been there before with another team member, but it wasn't anything like this. Now, when I went there on Saturday last week with 3 other members, we were doing the live came through, people started coming through very quickly. There was a lot online, and I was taken back by this, only to find out that a lot of people were saying someone had opened a portal and left it. And they left it open, and the evidence we got, sorry, Jem, what we got at that moment in time, I've got to be careful because I can see where she's coming from now.
Upset Jem.
Yeah, what we got at that moment in time was ridiculous. K2's going off, EMFs. I mean, my best one is the doll's house. The gentleman that owns the doll's house, his bed that he's built, four-poster bed, the wood has come from haunted locations or locations that had actually been demolished, and he turned it into a 4-poster bed. Now, during this live feed, we're all trying to work out why in a certain area on the spot at the bottom of the bed, why I was able to get 5 K2s, 3 EMFs, and balls to go off all at the same time. Now, I had people on who were coming on and asking me, show us underneath the bed. Showed them under the bed. Nothing. Put the K2s on the floor so they could see that there was no wire in there, dodgy wiring that was causing that. The K2s didn't go off. And what was amusing for me was, no matter where we put these items on the bed at different times, they all went off. You know, for me, I had to question that night, like I questioned the night at the A15 house, or they call it the horror house from Ruskington. Mm-hmm. I had to question that. And I still question 30 East Drive in that photograph. 30 East Drive for me is a hit and miss. And I won't say it's not. It can be easily assumed as a hit and miss house or location. For me, I think it depends on the people that go there, how open-minded you are, and what you're actually looking for. For us, for me personally, I wasn't there to get anything. I was there to assist the public for them to investigate this house under their own investigation, as it is between all of us. And it's really strange because whatever was in the house had only talked to the females of the public and none of the men. So for me, it worked brilliantly. It was just such a strange house. It's.
I've always said at the end of the day, we can investigate all we want. We can investigate for hours. But at the end of the day, it's up to spirit if they want to talk to us. Simple as that. I mean, a prime thing is we done on location for 2 months last year, same location. We've done about 8 investigations here, and we kept getting, every time we went, for day one, with K2s going off, with the catwalls going off, with cameras get switched off, with quite a few EVPs. I get the whispering ladies I call. Every time we went, we were getting. One day we went and we were getting nothing, not a thing. But then it came through that where I was joking. See, where's all the spirits? Where are you? You've been here every time we've been here, and it came through the Recaphonic. They're in the nave. The nave is an old word for a part of a church now. There's rumours that there was a church at the other end of this estate we were on. But, the place was totally flat. But every time we'd been there, we'd got activity. So, where is everybody today? Where is you gone? James put a comment up, 2 seconds, yeah, I'll stick up for you all. Don't be sorry at all. Everybody is completely different. My opinion is probably extremely different to others. That's what I love about the paranormal, and it's being through those signs we can discuss it differently. Yeah, everybody's got their own
opinions,
views, ways of doing things, investigations, whatever ways of doing life. We're all different. It'd be very, very boring, as I've heard many, if we were all the same. It'd be no fun.
Exactly. It's like my team asking me to train them as investigators, and I refuse to do it. Simple reason is not two investigators will look at an investigation the same way ever. If you do, like you said, it's boring. But I feel an investigator should have their own methods to how they want to investigate. It shouldn't be forced upon. There is no way to train an investigator, maybe a medium, as in to help develop their ability, but actually to tell them what to do in that. No, you can't do that. Everybody works differently.
We're no experts. We know, to me, if you want to be an investigator, just go out and do it.
Exactly. Learn. Self-taught, isn't it?
Teach yourself, whatever you want to call it. You learn yourself what works and what doesn't work. You could go out and sit in a graveyard with a torch and a camera, and you could get, noises and what. Or you could go out with all the high-tech equipment and get diddly squat.
Well, I've proved that in the past.
Listen to people. It's okay, people give you advice, for their experience. That comes in handy. I've certainly had a lot of advice for people that I've spoke to the last 2 years, the amount of people we've spoke to. It's always good to get somebody else's opinion, their input, a wee bit of advice,
It's the same with constructive criticism, isn't it?
Sorry, bud?
It's the same with constructive criticism, isn't it, really? Mm-hmm. It's nice to have it, but there are some people just tend to go that a little too far with it.
Some people don't know when to stop.
Correct. But then I feel constructive criticism, without it at a certain level, I wouldn't be able to develop myself as a better investigator or even my team. Mm-hmm. I take on all forms of constructive criticism, because at the end of the day, if everybody just liked everything and said, yeah, that's great, what am I doing?
I'll give you a prime example. I've been out of paranormal for over 30 years, but we didn't start investigating till we started PIA. So I'd never done an investigation. I'd watched it on TV, read books, films, all the usual toys and whistles. And I used to be really bad. I'm a Glaswegian. As you probably know, I can talk. I can talk to whenever the sun goes sideways, basically.
Yeah.
But I was used to be really bad at the start of investigations, where you would ask a question, and what I tended to do, I wasn't leaving gaps between questions, And a couple of people says to me, you need to give spirit time
30 seconds usually, isn't it? 30 seconds, isn't it?
You need to leave
It's the same with
that
EVPs.
gap.
It's the same with the EVP, mate. When I started doing that, I thought I could roll off question after question after question, like you said then. It wasn't until somebody said to me, you need to give them at least 30 seconds to respond to you. You're talking to a person. Treat them as if they're alive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, ever since that day, it's helped for me.
And it's helped me, because after they said to me, I thought, oh, aye. When the light bulb goes on.
Yeah, you think, oh, what an idiot. What have I done?
Oh, I never thought of that. So it's good to talk to other people and get advice. Don't get me wrong. There'll be times where you probably won't agree with what they're telling you. They'll talk.
Yeah.
But you still nod and smile and carry on.
Yeah, of course you did. Polite.
You just nod. Thanks very much, mate. And then you turn and say, he's a clown. Do you know what I mean?
What's he on about? Yeah. Happened a few
hell
times.
was that all about? But that's the thing. That's a good thing with doing podcasts as well. The amount of people, as you said yourselves, the amount of people you've met, through the paranormal. Jem included in this. I need to keep on her good side. Jem,
You're in trouble now.
Aye. But she's on the other side of the world, so I'm safe for now, It's when she knocks in the front door, then I'll worry.
That's right, mate. She's got a sort of passport out. It'll take a while, yeah.
Aye. But it's like doing the podcast, the amount of people that, as I said quite a few times, we're nothing special. We're just a wee team for Kilmarnock, a couple of people in Hamilton. Also, we got a USA side. But, the amount of people we've spoke to, I'm from Hull. I'm watching, Jim. I'm watching.
I'm from Nocton.
It's been amazing. There's people that we would never have spoke to, had we no started doing this,
He's on to you. Will they let you? Will they let you in Scotland? Is the question.
Aye, I'll be waiting at the border, doll. Don't you worry. I'll be waiting at the border.
He'll be waving at you on the other side.
Woo! You're not coming in, But it's amazing. It's going to sound like bragging. It's no meant to, but it's amazing the amount of big names in the paranormal that we've spoke to, we've interviewed, and we talked tonight, like Patty Negri, for one. I'm from Glasgow. I grew up in Pollock in Glasgow, and there's no way I would ever have spoke to somebody like Patty Negri if I hadn't started doing this.
Exactly, it's for me. It's amazing who comes out of the woodwork, isn't it? And actually, how nice people really are. I do want to talk to you.
I want to go. There's someone who drives me mental. I know Sarah can drive you nuts at times, but you hit it on the head, John. How genuine they are. I would say I'll use Patty as an example. When I first got in contact with Patty, she says, "Oh, we'll do a video call." So obviously you start digging and digging and digging. And I say to Sarah, I didn't realise how big this woman is,
Yeah.
And so we set the video call up. It was for 5 o'clock. I think it was on Wednesday. And so obviously you're nervous because you're going to talk to Patty Negri.
Yeah.
It's like Hollywood. And she came on the video call and it was like talking to her next door neighbour.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
It's
oh mate, you're in trouble now.
That's the missus. She's in the next room.
Exactly. She doesn't have to go across the border to get you, mate. She's only across the next room.
She just needs to go across the hall.
You're in for it, you are.
So if you don't see me again on the podcast, folks, you will know
Sarah's
know where I'm going. You can come and investigate me. That's what you can do. Find me,
can we get dibs? Can we get dibs first then?
I'll give you a nod or I'll touch your K2 meter. But no, it's amazing how down to earth people in the paranormal are. Me, Sarah and I have been so lucky to have found that out. With big names and they just come on and are totally down to earth.
Yeah, she's got you.
As you say, this PC used to be in the bedroom, but we decided to move it into the hall. So she's calling that a new office now. So these two are having a wee chin wag. But to me, it's good when you. I mean, take Rick McCullum, for instance. He's over here in July. We're meeting up with him. I've spoken to him quite a few times, and he's been on the show a few times, and he couldn't be a nicer guy.
And it's like I found out. It's really strange how nice a lot of these people are in this field.
Mm-hmm.
And I do sometimes struggle to understand why there's other types of people in this field who are nothing like that. Now, these people are actual full-on genuine people. I mean, I've started to meet the last few weeks. I've been meeting authors from the paranormal field, people I would never even dream of talking to, but I've had full-on conversations with these people. People from TV networks who do their own TV shows. And for me, if I wasn't doing this, or even anything like this, I wouldn't have this, privilege to speak to these sort of people. I'd just be a plain Joe. That's what it comes down to.
Exactly, John. We've had we'll get the Haunted Hunts coming on Monday again, but we've had the Haunted Hunts on a few times. Not Ghost, Haunted State. We've actually been invited. Haunted State are coming over here late in the year, and they've invited us to Ireland to film with them. We've had David Espinosa and Craig Aarons for CRA Entertainment, filmmakers and the filmmakers.
All right, yeah.
And we spoke to all the cast of their last movie, The Crumbs. With all the cast on.
Yeah.
And, David Espinosa, he's been a film director for 40 years. Craig as well. They're all big names. And we're coming back in when Demon Fighter's due for release. So we'll get interviews for Demon Fighter, And these are guys that you would never, as you say, you would never ever have spoke to.
No, exactly. You think they'd just turn their nose up at you, wouldn't you? If we weren't doing this, they'd just turn their nose up at you. But because you share a passion, that's what it comes down to. You share a passion. And for me, it's learning from people like them. Their experiences is how I improve as a person.
It's, like Craig Aarons.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you, John Paul. Night, dog. Talk to you tomorrow. Craig Aarons is an actor, producer, director. Sarah will tell you, he's mailed me quite a few times for advice. He video called me, calling me for advice.
That's what I mean. You wouldn't get that, would you, in normal day life? It's like my medium speaks to Ross Kemp at the moment. And I'm like that.
Grand Feast Enders.
Yeah, him. And I'm like that because I actually accepted the friend's request because I've had a few talks with him kind of thing. But yeah, there's some of the people that he's met that I'm starting to see the messages and the people he's worked with. It's unbelievable. And I say to him, for me, it's just amazing how some of these people are who they are. People don't understand. These are real, genuine people. But to other people, they're just, well, you're a total idiot, basically. Whatever. But if they're not, I learned a lot of Ross Kemp and talking to quite a few other people. I think it's Wayne Seddons in his books. I've just started looking into his books. I'll be honest, I haven't read any of them yet, but I'm looking into buying them all because, I've spoken to him personally about the books and about the paranormal itself. And some of the conversations I've had that are more intelligent than what I've had with my own family. It's ridiculous. The conversations are absolutely phenomenal. I'm not a very articulated person, but these people, they're absolutely phenomenal. For me, being a paranormal investigator in a way is a dream because I get to meet people that I would never meet in normal day-to-day life. And it really is.
I totally get what you mean by that. I mean, I was a big Most Haunted fan back in the day.
Yeah, it was.
But I always my favourite character in it was Richard Felix.
Yeah, I'm going to see him.
Stories,
I've got him booked.
The history of
I got him booked for Halloween.
The history bit of it. And no, we had Richard on last year, And you know, it sounds kind of stupid, but it kind of starts. I was sitting there talking to the guy, interviewing him, and thinking, this is the guy that used to wear the long black leather coat, almost haunted.
Exactly. I spoke to
And
him on the
he's
phone, and I
sitting,
still call him sir.
you know, drinking
Ridiculous.
what he was hammered by the time he finished alive. He'd been drinking whiskey.
Bless him. It's so nice and genuine to talk to as well. I mean, I spoke to him on the phone 3 times now, and you know, I call him sir, obviously due to the respect of what he's done within the field.
Aye.
And you know, he's just a really genuine bloke. And I think he's 70 now, or just gone 70. He's absolutely phenomenal.
I don't know if you're familiar with Chris Holton.
No.
Haunted History. There's a Haunted History channel. He's done a lot in Prime as well. Haunted Britain.
If I'm honest, I'm not one of those that will watch paranormal programs. I don't like to be influenced, especially because I do events. Well. Because I do events, I don't want to be influenced to the point where I go to the public. Right, this is here, that's there, this is here, and by not doing that, for me, it's worked. I think I watched Paranormal Lockdown once, which was a 30 East Drive. Again, used to be like yourself, a big Most Haunted fan. I mean, I work with, obviously, like I said, Mickey Vermouche. He's ex Most Haunted himself. He worked with Derek Accord and Richard Felix. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you know, I was at one point, but I tend not to watch too many of these programs because I'm, like I say, too many of them now. You don't know what's true and what isn't anymore when it comes to these shows. For me, they're entertainment purposes. Watching what you see on TV is a lot different to doing an event. An event is completely different to doing what you see on TV by far. And
it's nothing like it. It's all made up.
It's scripted. You cannot. The problem I've found doing events now as a small events company team is we make plans, we stick to schedules, and after the first 5 minutes, it's all gone out the window. Because you just don't know what's going to happen.
Either. We don't plan our investigations.
You can't,
can you? An investigation, I've got a rough idea in my head, you know, like try this, maybe try that. But then once you get there, you know yourself, you know, things change and you end up, I never done this, I'm going to try that, you know.
The thing is, if you've got activity and you've gone, right, you start at 7, you've got activity and it's now coming up to 8 o'clock and you're thinking, I need to move on and do something else. But the activity's still here.
You keep going with it.
Exactly, you've got to keep going with it. And for the members of the public who pay for these events, that's what they come to see. And it's amazing how many people I've brought through the doors just alone at Nocturne Hall when we did events there. The stuff they saw, and we brought on a lot of skeptics came through the doors, including 2 bikers. For me, you know, life changed when I saw these 2 bikers because they were full-on skeptics. One of them left bright white. They're a lot bigger than me, and I'm 6'2" and 20 stone. And the other guy was near in tears because Mickey gave him a message. You know, it was amazing to see these sorts of things. Mm-hmm. I've always worked with a medium. I always say you need one of each for a night to work or for any investigation to work. If I've got a medium and you've got an investigator, if a medium says there's something there, you go over to it and investigate it as an investigator. If something comes up, like your K2 or your EMF flashes up, or you catch something on a camera, you have your evidence. Mm-hmm. You can't. I don't feel you can have one without the other within a team. I just can't see it work, and I don't know how you guys work, but for me and my team, when we do big groups, it's always one medium with one investigator, and then I'll have camera crew and more investigators with my mediums. But I'll always have a medium with us because, like you said, I can talk like yourself, but in an event with the public, unless you're talking and you have your audience gripped, your event will drop and the public become bored. So for me, it's a case of if I'm struggling, I can turn to my medium and go, are you picking anything up at the minute? yeah, something over there. I'll go over there, but I'll ask a member of the public to go over there with like the K2 or the EMF. Can you tell me if there's anything over there? You know, I've got their attention again. I'm back to square one. I'm where I should be again. On we go. Now, and doing that in events, like I said, I've learned a lot about myself doing this, because you have to have the confidence to do this. When you stand in front of a camera, you know, you have to have confidence, because like you said, questions get thrown at you so quick, especially if you've got a very active live feed and stuff is happening. You have to be on the ball. If you're struggling, you know, you need to turn to someone else or get someone else to help you
rely
out.
on them to
Yeah,
help
exactly.
you.
That's where your team comes in. But since doing events, you know, I mean, I've had it at, I'm not going to lie, I had it at 30 East Drive. There's a point and a time where, as an investigator, you have to call it. And at 5:30 in the morning, I called it and said, okay, guys, I'm not going to lie. I don't feel as a investigator now that there's anything in this house. And you know what? They all thanked me. I was honest with them. I find honesty is a big
that's the thing. Be honest with folk. I mean, we don't do events. We did look briefly doing them last year, but we gave up. So with investigations and that, you know, so some nights we've been out and you want to keep going and going and going, but then you do get to a point where you say, right, you know, we've been here 3 hours, you know.
Yeah.
The activity's been okay, but let's just,
it's dropping off now. Yeah. See, the point is
things
where
back up.
we have to remember that we are talking that these people were once living, and they're still, as far as I'm concerned, they're still people, and we have to respect them. You know, you can't just
you know, if you're in a graveyard for 3 hours, you know, and you're getting answers for maybe say a woman, for example.
Yeah.
Who's to say that after a certain time she's like, you know what? I'm off.
I'm done. I'm off to the pub. See you later.
You know, I've been talking to you long enough, right? I'm going.
Well, you know as well as I do, it does happen.
People want, you know.
Exactly, it does happen.
Get fed up. Sorry?
It does happen as well, because your equipment goes dead and you're like that. Where'd it go?
You know, I've gave you your answers. I'm out of here. And away they go. People might think that, oh no, that's nuts. It's a ghost we're talking about and they're always there. But who's to say that ghosts are all, you know, spirits are always, I keep saying ghosts. I prefer the word spirit. Who's to say that spirits are always hanging about the same place, you know, day in, day out? Who's to say they don't go away and come back again?
Exactly. It's like vessels, dolls. People say they're haunted. Dolls are haunted. For me, there's only one haunted doll as far as I'll ever be, you know, I will say. And that was Annabelle. Because of the history of what happened. And obviously the Warrens had Annabelle locked up in a glass cabinet. And she's about to be displayed in, is it somewhere in one of these casinos in America as well? They're going to put her on show. Yeah, I think I saw it during this week. But for me, dolls.
So sorry, John. I need to put this comment out. I swear to you, she's really. That's what I'm like chatting to you 15 minutes and I'm done. I don't have an answer for that,
really? Jim. She's really on you tonight, isn't she? What have you done?
She always is. She always is.
What have you done to her?
She's me because she knows I'm a lesser mortal. You know what I mean?
You're below her.
Jim, you get your comeuppance. Sorry, John, I had to put that on. I just spotted that.
They say karma's a bitch, it will come round.
Eventually, I'll just turn up in Australia one day, but I can't get out.
Mate, she'll be on the border waving at you, going, you're not getting in here. But yeah,
I mean, the haunted
the vessel thing. It annoys me because a lot of people say that dolls are haunted. I'm sorry, but dolls for me or items are energies. These energies. She loves you, doesn't she? But these energies come and go. That's why they're called vessels. A vessel isn't haunted. It's an energy that comes and goes, as far as I'm concerned. I'm not going to lie to you now. I have 64 dolls here, where I'm sat now.
Did you say 64?
I did.
64 dolls.
Yep.
I'm sat here. That one, sorry.
I'm sat here with. Actually, I'll show you this. Right. Some lady saw this one, and I actually took this to Gainsborough Old Nick for my investigations. And she's one of my pride and joys. I don't know much about her because I haven't done anything on her yet. But apparently, when I got this one, the first thing they said was she looks like a younger version of Lorraine Warren.
A slight resemblance. I'm still trying to get in my head that you get 64 dolls there.
I do, mate. I rescued 50 plus. I think it was 54 I rescued, but originally I had 10. Now I use vessels a lot, not for lives, but when I do events, I like to take different dolls out with me. Now I know that 90% of these dolls are not vessels, or there's nothing in them. But because I rescued them as a batch, I keep them all together. Mm-hmm. So, and obviously I work with a few people who have dolls as well, a lot of dolls. And it's just lately I've become fascinated with the term vessel and what these dolls or items have. I mean, I'm sat next to a World War II mask, which is a baby's one. It was used twice during World War II. Next to that, I have a NATO chemical mask with 2 oxygen tanks on it from 2006. I have boxes, jewelry boxes. I have cat badges. I've got the old radio, which is up here. You know, I have a lot of items in this house. Everything's sorted because we have children and they've all been blessed with prayer and that. But I find it fascinating. I have a fascination for items. I don't know why, but I just feel if you take an item to a location, you can use it as a trigger object. And at the moment,
there that might recognise or takes a liking to it.
Exactly. I mean, my latest one is this. My partner and I built this, and we used this at 30 East Drive. To you guys, it might look like a normal truck. It is a modern truck, I'm not going to lie. But once I turned it into a K2, it's a different thing altogether, mate. The activity we had on the live with this alone at 30 East Drive was absolutely phenomenal. I've never seen a K2 react so much. Mm-hmm. Red was so easy. Oh, it won't turn off now.
See, we took it was actually Laura in the chat. It's just bits of an old wooden trade sets with 3 bits of track and a wee wooden engine.
Yeah.
And just the whole idea is just to lay it flat. And what I do is I put the front wheel at one of the joints, you know. Yeah. And then we'll put a locked off camera on it. And the purpose of the locked off cameras are 2 things. 1, to show that none of us are near it, and 2, and the chance that it does move,
the camera
will catch it. And I get back every now and again and just check to see if it's moved. We're not there to joy yet, but same as a compass. We've tried using a compass a few times.
I spoke to a gentleman in London. I think it's Kent Paranormal Investigators. I've got to get it right because he usually catches me out with it. And it's Dave Sage. And he's the owner of the Doll's House. And the old electronic keyboards that you use for weans when they're growing up and they're like crawling around and they play on the piano. He sets one of them up in a doorway. And he's had that go off, he said, several times in a doorway. I never thought of that.
You see, that's the thing. I'm not a big tech fan because I'm thick as mince, as Jem will tell you. I might just get Jem's name in there. Jem will tell you I'm thick as the cup. Sarah will tell you as well. And I like the K2 meter. I like the cat ball because it's plain and simple. Myself, I like the laser grid.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant, that is.
But we're using the compass. We're trying to be train set. No joy yet. The other thing we came up with, it was actually Sarah that came up with, and people spend hundreds of pounds on kit, But Sarah came up with an idea a bit of clothesline and just strip some material and tie it on and hang it up. And obviously, it needs to be no draft,
Yeah.
And we put a lighted candle nearby. And if the material moves and the candle burns through, then you know it's not a draft. That something's moving. And so that's what we've done. I got a wee bit of clothesline and I took an old t-shirt of mine, an old grey, and cut it up. It cost me nothing, Jem's actually agreeing with me for once. I'm not tech savvy, See, I mean, you don't need to spend hundreds of pounds on, state-of-the-art stuff because, to me, a spirit doesn't give a beat
crap what it
whether
is. Yeah,
you've
exactly.
got a £300 camera or a compass.
If it's going to go, it's going to go in it.
I mean, it's not if you get a spirit standing there saying, well, I quite like that guy's camera and he's just got a cheap Samsung. So we'll go with him. He's got an S7. He's got, a Nikon, something, whatever.
Yeah.
We'll go there,
Gold digger. The gold digger. Isn't it? The spirit of gold diggers.
Aye. All right. Thank you, Jim. Namaste.
He'll take that. He'll never get another compliment off you again.
I'm keeping that. That is mine.
That's gold.
That's in the bag. You know how women put money in there. Thank you. Yeah. That's gone. That's kept in there, dog.
He's taking a photo of that.
I'm keeping this live, so you can't take it back. Thank you, Jim. Love you, Tony.
He's going to get it framed.
But do you know what I mean, Jordan? Spirit doesn't care if you've got the latest high-tech technology that can pick up UFOs. They don't care. If
it's coming out, I think it's to do with the person as well, to be fair. If the person is, mellow, not one of those, there you go. That's just proof, isn't it? He's definitely getting a photo of that now. It's a screenshot. It's getting framed in gold.
Fine. Got it.
It's getting framed in gold, that is. Look what you've done. But yeah, I think in a way, I think it's down to the person himself. Like who goes in. If you're one of those who's hot-headed, bolshy and that, I don't think they're going to react with you. But if they see you're not a threat to them, over a period of time, I think they'll just gain your confidence and eventually they'll come out and you'll get the shot you want or the result. But if you're going in there, like most skeptics do, whatever, no, that ain't nothing. Because that's the attitude they come with. They're not going to get anything.
No, Spirit's going to be like, I'm not talking to you, mate.
Yeah, you're not worth the hassle, mate. Do one. That's why I just don't.
When you're just laid back and you say, what I've done a couple of times is I'll say to Spirit, aren't I just for selling and say, well, I'm not going to ask you any questions, but I'm here. You want to come and speak to me? Come and speak to me.
You need to gain their trust. They're people at the end of the day, or they were people once. They're just the same. They've just crossed over, is all. They're still people.
And sometimes if you just sit and wait, you might see the wee flicker on the K2 starting.
Maybe that flicker's enough to know that that they've answered what you've asked.
So I mean, my trainer thought is if you say that to a spirit, the spirit will think, well, this guy's not going to pester me with stupid questions. So, I'll go talk to him.
I mean,
he's just sitting there.
I wouldn't go as far as I pester him. I mean, for me, with dowsing rods, I'll probably spend 10 minutes on a dowsing rod. For a box session, like you said, the Necrophonic app, I haven't used that yet myself personally, but I have seen it used. I'm usually on the portal, or I will use ghost hunting tools if I'm using apps. And I'll just ask them simple questions like, did you live here? Simple yes or no. Make the ball or the K2. Respond yes for green and no for red. Just to get my responses. But I'll never ask more than 10 questions because they're like us, mate. They drain as well. I mean, look at us after we go through a paranormal investigation. If people actually can say that they've never had a paranormal hangover, I'd like to know the cure. I really would. A paranormal hangover is absolutely phenomenal when you have one. being drained. There's being ill, and then there's being drained by doing an investigation. They're two different things. It's it's hard for me.
Jim's not a fan of the apps. It's the only app we use is the Necrophonic. We've tried other ones, I'm not going to name them, but I thought they were a load of crap.
There is a lot of fakes out there. I totally agree with you. And I actually saw the Necrophonic app being used at the A15 house just outside Ruskington by one of my team members. And it mentioned my name a lot. For me, I was a bit, what's going on here sort of thing. And we were trying to work out whether someone was trying to get a message to me. The thing is you can't, for me, you couldn't get the message they were trying to get across through the Necrophonic app. But we established a lot of things through that app at that time about the house, which for me was a big deal because it was my first time investigating it properly, even though I wasn't fully equipped. And I was missing a lot of gear. But, I thought it's a brilliant app. I unfortunately didn't get to use it at 30 East Drive because, well, like most people, like Jem, people don't like apps. I mean, we had one lady there that had some weird app. 1 minute it said, she mentioned about going to the toilet. And the next word she got on this app was the word aroused. And then the second word was play with me. And I was taken back by it. Right. Really, really taken back by that, and then she went up the stairs. This is to that bathroom, by the way, in the bathroom up the stairs when she got these responses. Then she got halfway. She bolted back down the stairs, sat down, and she said, I'm not going back up. I'm not going back up. And then her friend or her partner convinced her to go back up. And halfway up the stairs, this app said, sit down, go back. And she came back petrified through what this app said. Now, most of these apps are just random generated words. But the reaction I saw of her from this app just made me think, like what Jem just said there. Why am I a fan of these apps? The way she reacted, I expect if she saw something, not off an app, but she looked petrified, and she had the ability of a medium, which is what got me most of all. So, like Jem said, to be fair, I struggle to use apps, but I do use them only because if I've not got a medium, I turn to something to try and help either continue the conversation or what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to leave. There you go.
Terrified all night, Dave said. Yes. See, that's the thing. I mean, I know I'm no major on the apps, but I do like the Necrophonic because I found with the Necrophonic, I know a lot of apps, they're already preloaded, etc., whatever you call them. This is my technical bit coming out now, so pay attention, Jem. Oh. I know a lot of the apps are preloaded with words and stuff like that, but when like the Necrophonic, we've had a lot of answers came out the Necrophonic that's corresponded to questions we've asked.
Exactly.
At the time, and like we've asked, is it a boy or a girl?
We had that. I think the strangest one that we heard that night was Jay, one of my team members, asked how many people were in the room. Mm-hmm. And at that time, they said 7. There was actually 4 of us at the time, but then he diverted the question before we got the answer was, okay, how many living people? And of course, it came up with the number 4. For me, I have to look at that and go, there's something to this.
Well, that's it. You can't.
There is something to this. It's a
brilliant. My name came through quite a wee bit at the Caldwell last year. My name kept constantly coming through, but we had the investigation. It was Kat for Paranormal Exposure with her husband Will, and she'd asked how many spirits are here, and right away she's like, we asked how many spirits are. She was doing the X method, and she was sitting there, and we said, how many spirits are here? And right away, Kat's like, 5.
It's a very, very precise app. I've got to be honest. I did like it.
Using these apps, using a voice recording program makes it unreliable for me. Doesn't give me. I will always give everything try.
No,
Well, that's it. Yeah, we don't know until you
give it a shot.
know
I
until
totally
you
agree with
try.
you there, though, that these apps are basically random word generated. I've got, I use, like I said, the portal. The portal now has 7 different voices, 3 of them are different languages. And I paid extra to get an extra 5,000 words uploaded onto it.
Right.
It's sometimes I get responses that I expect, and then other times you get absolutely nout. And it's in it, it doesn't work. But the Necrophonic app, I saw it used last week, and I have to be honest, it's only a 3.8 on Google Play Store, but I think it's an underrated app, to be fair. I really do. If you use it on Reverb, I think if you use it on Reverb, you're in for a shock. You really are. A big treat. It's phenomenal. Especially for the actual location as well. When it starts pumping stuff out about the location, and you know nothing about it, because we don't know nothing about the A15. There is no history at all to that house through land registry records, council records, police, anything. There is no record on this house. So when you start getting stuff coming through this Necrophonic app, you look at it and think, bloody hell, really?
But that's it. We did one last year when we were at Caldwell, and we asked, what's the name of this location? What's the name of the house? And it came through in the app. If I've got on video, it came through Caldwell.
It's mental, isn't it? Absolutely phenomenal. And yet I hadn't heard of this app.
People can say, aye, but that word was planted in there. Say,
how? Come on, please, how?
You say, how can you plant that? We're in this Caldwell estate, and Caldwell comes through the app, and we ask, can you name this house?
It's not exactly in the dictionary, is it?
Exactly, and it's just, I can't debunk it. We love the Necrophonic. The other apps, not too sure, not too keen. But
I mean, I use like I said, I use the ghost hunting tools because for me, it generates words that are based on the grounds or the building, not of people. Mm-hmm. Now, if I'm stuck at a location where I have no history or anything, and a word comes through, like, for example, assaulted, I then have a word where I can actually start my investigation, because at that moment in time, before that, I wouldn't have a clue. Because, like I said, the A15 house has no history. So if I've got the word assaulted, then I can go, okay, can you please tell me who was assaulted? And the next thing you might have come through is woman. But then we bring out the dowsing rods. And Becky, my partner, she uses a dowsing rod. She's very good on. She'll go into the dowsing rods, and we'll start getting people's names come through. People come through on the live and go, can you ask for so-and-so? He's part of this house. I believe it was Edward. Dave might be able to tell me who it was exactly. But the A15 house, my partner started working on Edward. Now, Edward threw his ex-wife down the stairs and apparently buried his daughter out in the garden somewhere in this field.
Nice chat.
But we knew nothing about this. But it says online, a man murdered his family and then set himself alight. So when we asked him about, so we asked him about how he died. And we said, did you basically die in a fire? And it was like, yes. Okay, then was your suicide accidental or deliberate? But we asked him, like, accidental was the first word we used first. And believe it or not, for a guy that committed a crime, as far as I'm concerned, he actually admitted that his death was accidental. Yet he killed his wife and child in that house, as far as he's concerned. Whether we were talking to that guy or not, these are the questions and the answers we got through dowsing rods. And then we had the Necrophonic app on, and it came up with snap. Now, outside the door of this house used to be a telephone pole, and it's been snapped at a certain angle. So it came up on the Necrophonic app, snapped, buried, girl, pole, and then something else came up. So we've gone outside, and there's the pole, telephone pole's been snapped. Down the side of the house, there's a group of bricks. Now, back in the day in Scotland, when you used to bury people, they used to put stones over the graves, didn't they? Rocks. That was what the formation of this grave was, mate, up against his house. Rocks. And it was shaped in the form of a grave. It was weird. And it wasn't until then that I realised this necrophonic app was, it was brilliant. I started to get responses that I'd never expected. I was able to, as I know Jem don't like the word, but the evidence I collected up until that point, as far as I was concerned, wasn't evidence. It was just hearsay. Then all of a sudden, this necrophonic app came through with these words, and I'm now thinking, right, that there, and it all started to fit into place. I had my story. It was really weird.
We had again at Caldwell last year. The Caldwell the house was originally built with the Muir family back in the 1700s, and so we had the necrophonic on, and we were asking, are you part of the Muir family? He came back, yes, and we says, which one are you? And he came back, John. So we checked back. Well, Laura checked back, and there was a John Muir. And in the house there was also we get the name James as well, who was connected to the Muir family. And then we get the words run, fight, and battle, near in quick succession.
Well, all three of those words are linked, don't you? So you can't argue.
We checked out, and the whole area was connected to the Covenanters, and there was known battles all in that area. Now, I don't believe in the word coincidence. I know it gets used a lot in the paranormal.
Yeah,
it's a word that I don't like, but because there's too many things to be coincidence,
Yeah,
but we get the name John, James, Muir, run, fight, battle. We get loads of stuff,
haven't you?
You can't dispute that.
No, you can't. You've got to take it seriously and on board and think, I can now clarify through the necrophonic app, this has actually happened here. These people are here and they're willing to talk. Like you said, you look through the history, but like history on the internet, and you see these names after that's come through on the necrophonic, and the first thing you do is, what? Is this really, really what I've got? For us as an investigator, it's epic.
We've had full sentences as well. It's been picked up, and it's been picked up after we've listened back to it. One was they can see you.
Yeah, that's a good one, that one, isn't it?
They can see you.
Oh,
but
yeah,
this wasn't through the app. This wasn't through the necrophonic. Because with Jennifer and her American team, she's brilliant with her audio. And what I do is when we get good stuff, I'll send it to her, but I send it to different other people, and I come back and say, listen, that's not through an app, because you don't have the usual kind of metallic, echoey sound.
Yeah.
So that's real time. Somebody was standing beside you and said that. Same as I call the Whispering Lady. I'll need to send you the clip. I had Jim Martin break that down for me. He says, that's not through an app. Charlie as well, he says, that's not through the app. That woman was right next to you because your phone picked it up.
Did you pick it up on EVP?
It's just we're sitting, and see, this is a weird thing, right? There was 7 days there that night. It was a stairwell we were in. The rest of the team were hearing what they described as sharp intakes of breath, no through the app, in real time, as I call it.
Yeah.
I was sitting in the stairs, and I heard a woman's voice speak. I couldn't make out what she was saying, but I heard as clear as day, and I reacted to that at the exact same time. The team reacted to another intake of breath. They say that these intakes were getting closer and closer. So these two things happened at the exact same time, but I wasn't aware that I thought everybody heard the voice. And so I listened to this voice, and I thought it sounded Latin, and Jennifer listened to it, and so many, and they couldn't work out what this woman was saying. And it was Jim Martin, who runs the Spirit Realm Network. I gave it to him, and he came back and he broke it. He done it on a live, actually. And he says, the woman's asking you, is your light better now? He says, what's your footage? He says, you're sitting on the stairs and you move your EMF meter and it goes to red. And then you move it another wee bit and it goes to red again. and then she asks you, is your light better now? And he broke it right down his throat. He says, right, listen to it. And we listened to it. He says, aye, that's what he says. Now that is no true enough. He says, that woman was right beside you for your phone to pick that up as clear as that. And that just blew me away. I was like, I don't know what to say. You know, we were out the moon. And we heard other stuff. After I started listening more and more back to the care, we heard, I've said residual, we heard a lift, you know, coming down, an old metal lift, you know.
Bye, Jem.
Talk to you soon, honey. Take care. Tell Kate, the family, everybody, hi. About 8 minutes of recording, I thought it was like a trolley getting pushed along a corridor because the place was an old hospital as well. And that's what it sounded like. But the more I listened to it, I heard a ping at the end of it. There was a mechanical sound, then there was a ping. And you know the old lifts you used to get with the lift with ping when it got to a floor?
Yeah.
After I heard that, we were sitting next to what was the old lift shaft. It's just scrap metal now. But you can hear it clear as day. And the more you listen to it, that sounds like a lift going up or down and get to the floor and then pinging. It was absolutely amazing, some of the stuff. But that whispering lady, she blew me away. I just, you know, I'll need to send you the clip, buddy.
Oh yeah, you will.
None of the team, know what I mean? But that's it. We're over the 2 hour mark.
No, mate. Would you believe it?
So I think we're going to wind it up there just now. But we'll get you back in. You've still got loads to talk about.
Of course, mate. Always. It's paranormal, isn't it?
Still got tons to talk about you, your background and everything. So before we go, buddy, where can people find you?
At Nighthawk Paranormal UK on Facebook. We also have nighthawkparanormal.co.uk, which is the official website. Or if you'd like to email us, you can get us at nighthawkparanormaluk.gmail.com. Or otherwise, you can just get hold of Scott, and Scott will get hold of me.
There you go, folks. That's it. So,
cheers, mate. Thank you for having me.
I'll keep a hold of you just after we come off anyway, buddy, for a wee minute.
That's right, there. No worries, mate.
So that's us for tonight, people. Thanks very much for joining in, for all your comments and stuff. I'm much appreciated. That's your lives for this week. We're live again, but we're actually live on Saturday night. We're doing a wee team live. But Sunday night, we have, well, I don't, they do, we have a ladies' night. So it's all the ladies in the team, and we'll be joined by Roxanne, with Charlie and Rox, and Kirsty Murphy's coming in as well. Hopefully Jennifer for our American team can make it. And I've got nothing to do with it. I don't know what the topic is. Sarah will be running the live, and I'm just going to be sitting in the room watching it, putting the odd comment in, as you do. That's it. So, but next week, we have the Haunted Hunts UK coming on Monday for you. And we have Karen Frey as well on Wednesday, the mastermind behind Festival of the Unexplained. And we have PTTP coming to see us again, the girls for there as well. So that's us for next week for you. And a wee investigation as well coming next week. So we'll say good night just now, people, and thanks again for joining. Big thanks to John, the Nighthawk fan, definitely give him a look up and all their bits and pieces. And we'll talk to you again soon. All right, folks, take care. Bye.